Well, greetings once again to all my friends on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else out there on the interwebs. It's your old buddy Celine Driver again. I've seen a few other people do one of these. I figured I'll do one too. Wrap up video of the 2020 Florida Gator college football season. What can I say, man? Hey, at least we got a full season in, at least a full season as allowable by the existence of Wuhan Red Death. But we did get a full season in. Florida did end up playing all its games. Something that a lot of other teams can't say. A lot of teams did, a lot of teams didn't. It's not their fault. There's no real trash talking involved for most of those, except for some teams that chickened out at the end. Florida State. Florida State, sorry. But the Gators managed to play all 10 of their games. Plus, they got to the SEC championship game. And they got a bowl game. We'll talk about that in a minute. I've got some notes over here on my other screen. First thing I'm going to do is brief review of the season. As everybody knows, and as everybody has clowned me about for the past few days now, the Gators finished the season 8-4. They were, or are, and will be until they are knocked off next year, and we'll get to that in a minute too. They are the defending Eastern Division champions. That's good news. There was some good news in this season. They started out with Ole Miss road game. They won the game 51-35. Should have been an indication right there. In fact, for those of us who are not football ignorant, it was an indication that the Florida defense wasn't all there. But you could chalk that up to first game, very little practice, very little preseason workout. Defenses are usually more vulnerable to not having practice than the offense, etc., etc. The following week, they played the South Carolina Shamecocks in the swamp. They did win that game. They did win the game 38-24. Again, a really, really good offensive performance and a really mediocre to not good defensive performance. That's 2 weeks in a row where a team that you should have beaten handily with a good defense shouldn't have scored that many points. Next week, the wheels started to come off, and we saw the real problems begin to emerge when we traveled to College Station and got beat by Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M turns out wasn't as bad a team as a lot of people thought they were, but we still lost to them 41-38 because our offense played with enough ability to win this game, but our defense absolutely, positively refused at any point in the game to stop Texas A&M one time, especially when it was critical. One stop was all it would have taken for Florida to win this game. You can argue that point with me if you want, but facts don't care about your feelings. I saw the game. It was obvious. The Florida defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. The next week was supposed to be the LSU game. That got postponed. The following week was supposed to be the Missouri game. That also got postponed. Both times it was because there was too much COVID running through the Florida Gators. And not because, as the people who like to troll the Gators said, we were afraid of playing LSU. Turns out we probably should have been, but we'll get to that. We did eventually play LSU on October 31st, which was actually, I believe, supposed to be the Georgia game. And we won that game rather handily, 41-17. We did see improvement in that game in the Florida defense. Not nearly enough for my taste, but we did win that game rather handily. The following week was our opportunity to end a 3-game losing streak and slay the Dragon. The Dragon being the University of Georgia. And we beat them. We went into Jacksonville with that high-power offense and a defense that sort of kind of looked like it was beginning to, play half decently. And we beat them 44-28. And it was one of the highlights of the season, I believe, was the fact that we beat Georgia 44-28. We finally broke the 3-game losing streak to Georgia. We finally slayed the Dragon, and we finally had the Eastern Division title in our power to win. It was ours to win or ours to lose. But again, the defense showed weakness, especially against a inferior quarterback duo. Now, I will be the first to admit, if JT Daniels had been playing that game, I think the game would have been a hell of a lot closer, and very likely that Georgia could have won that game because there was not a lot of really good defense being played in that game. Next game was against Archie. Bacon Bits came into the swamp. The ability to be able to get some revenge on Felipe Lepew in front of our home crowd, which wasn't a big crowd, obviously. And we won the game 63-35. But we let an Arkansas team with what I feel is an inferior quarterback to what we have in Felipe Franks and an inferior offense score 35 points on our defense. Once again, pointing to the fact that Todd Grantham doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And it showed. The defense looked ill-prepared in some aspects of the game. They looked disorganized and they looked vulnerable. And Arkansas lit them up for 35 points. That should never happen. Next game, 38-17 win over Vanderbilt in Nashville. Again, we allowed a winless Vanderbilt at the time to score 17 points on our defense. That team had no right scoring more than, I'd say, 7 points. Again, pointing to the fact that we don't have a defense. Next game, again, was back in the swamp against Kentucky. We won the game 34-10. We begin to see here with the Vanderbilt game, going through the Kentucky game, going through the Tennessee game, and going through to the LSU game. In my opinion, not only was our defense playing poorly, but our offense seemed to lose that killer instinct. That killer instinct that had Kyle Trask throwing 4 and 5 and 6 touchdown passes a game. We lost that somewhere along the way. It left. It left. The play calling wasn't there. And that's on the head coach. That's on Mullen. But we still won 34-10 against Kentucky. We should have. The defense played pretty good, average. They held them to 10 points. I was grateful for that. Next week, we scored fewer points against Tennessee, and we allowed Tennessee with, I think even my friend BVD would admit, is a very bad offense to score 19 points. How? How could you let a team which was rotating quarterbacks more often than most people rotate socks to score 19 points on you? It was inconceivable. And then the wheels come off the season. We are, at that point, 8-1? Yeah, 8-1. We're 8-1. We've locked up the East at that point. We still have everything to play for because we're trying to play for a berth in the playoffs. And we're also trying to play for, among other things, trying to get Kyle Trask a Heisman. And LSU, perhaps the worst, with all due respect to my friend TK, love you, babe, miss you. With all due respect to her, LSU is the worst defending national champion team in the history of college football. They rolled in there with a losing record, disorganized on offense, disorganized on defense, and proceeded to run up and down the field on us in our house. And then a combination of we can't play defense, we lost our killer instinct on offense, and finally, lack of leadership, lack of coaching, and lack of discipline at the end of the game cost us not only the game, but almost certainly cost Kyle Trask his Heisman. We then roll next week into the SEC championship game, which quite frankly, I didn't give us a snowball's chance under a blowtorch to win. I figured it was a 28-point blowout. It actually turned into a slugfest. But again, our defense proved once again they don't know what they're doing. They suck. And the coaching staff sucks. Because we would pull within a score of Alabama, kick off, give them the ball back, and all we needed to do was stop them one time and then score again. It's a tie game, or nearly a tie game. And we couldn't do it. The whole game was like that. We dropped behind by 2 scores. We scratch, we claw, we fight our way back to within a score, kick the ball back to Alabama, and the defense immediately lays down and can't stop a nosebleed. Or as one of my good friends says, can't cover a twin bed if they were a king-size sheet. And we lost. Now, we lost better than I thought we were going to lose. We only lost by 6 points, but a loss by 1 point or 100 is a loss. We lost. And then finally, just recently, we rolled into the Cotton Bowl in Texas, depleted because a whole bunch of our players quit. They did not opt out, people. They quit. I agree with Uncle Lou on this one, 120%. If you opt out at the beginning of the season before game 1 plays, you decide not to play, you opt out. After the first game starts, if at any time during the season, including the bowl game, you choose not to play anymore, you quit. And a whole bunch of our players quit. And quite frankly, I think the defensive staff quit. I think the whole coaching staff quit, really. And I like Dan Mullen. I know everyone thinks he's a clown, he's an idiot, he's this, he's that, he's never won this and that and whatever. I've been all over that useless troll so many times. It doesn't even bear mentioning that you're wrong, but I mean, whatever. So I'm not going to rehash the fact that there was no way he could ever win anything at Mississippi State, and that he has better chance of doing something in Florida. Now he has finally done something in Florida, but I'm not going to rehash that again. That's a worthless troll, and I'm not going to dignify it anymore. And I like I said, I like Dan Mullen, but that loss was on him. That was a clown show from start to finish. It was a clown show on offense. It was a clown show on defense. It was an embarrassment to Gator Nation. And for some reason, now I'm going to shift to another screen. So hang on. I'm going to shift to the screen that tells me that despite an entire season of absolute abject failure on defense and what it would be best described as benign mediocrity, and wasting a fantastic offense for most of the season with a defense that couldn't do anything right. I now read in these reports that Lardass Grantham is not being fired. If there was ever a case to fire an entire defensive coaching staff, starting with the coordinator, this season for the Florida Gators in 2020 is a textbook example. But what do? All they do is they fire a couple of assistant coaches. They fire cornerbacks coach Torian Gray and safeties coach Ron English. Big fucking deal. Grantham's going to be back, and they're bringing in some Yutz, who's a refugee from the Moose Dump era over at the Shamecocks. And he was at Florida in the early 20-teens under Moose Dump, which in my mind automatically disqualifies him as anything that I would believe in or trust. But I don't care if they brought in the greatest defensive... I don't care if they brought in Bill Belichick or Bill Parcells. I don't care what coach they brought in from any level. Anyone that's coaching underneath Todd Grantham is not going to succeed. The fish rots from the head down. Todd Grantham is the problem. Firing him was the solution. And now you tell me, and the rest of Gator Nation, that Todd Grantham is going to be waddling along the sidelines for the 2021 season. No, thank you. No, thank you. I covered that in my last video. And now I look at the 2021 season. Now, this 2021 season has been established in terms of teams, but they haven't been established in terms of dates and times yet. So I don't know the dates and times. So I just have to look at the schedule and go in the order. Now, the dates have been established for the game against Florida Atlantic. I'll give that a win. Here, let me write this down. Hang on. Win, loss. I'm going to call Florida Atlantic a win. I really don't think even a piss-poor defense that Florida is certainly going to have next season, combined with a crippled offense that is not going to be anywhere near as good as it was in 2020. I don't think they're going to lose against Florida Atlantic. Nor do I think they're going to lose against the USF Bulls. The next game that is established as a date against Georgia Bulldogs, not only are we going to lose to Georgia, we're going to lose so bad that I'm hoping that a Georgia loss by a huge margin, which is almost a guarantee, gets Grantham not only fired, but kicked off the team bus. And he doesn't get to travel back to Gainesville. So, Georgia's a loss. Samford Bulldogs is also an established date game. That's a win. And the Florida State Criminals, they're in worse shape than we are. Hell, they didn't even bother playing some of their games. They quit during the season. The entire team quit. So I'm going to give us a win there. You know, if you think that Milton McKenzie, the refugee from Central Florida, is going to be the answer to Florida State's quarterback woes. Now, the games that haven't been established in terms of schedule yet, but we know they're going to be played, are Alabama, loss. I mean, just as big a loss, if not bigger, than the Georgia loss. Tennessee Volunteers, hell, that's a toss-up at this point. The only advantage we have there is it's in the swamp. So I'm going to give us a win, but I think you want to talk about a struggle win? That's going to be a struggle win. But Tennessee's in worse shape than we are at the moment. So we might be able to beat Tennessee. Vandy, win. Kentucky, It's at Kentucky. I'm going to give us a win there because, they're a basketball school. I think we can beat them. We'll see what their quarterback situation looks like. LSU, at LSU, loss. Missouri, win. South Carolina, win. I'm being generous, giving us 9-3. 9-3, at best, will be second in the East. And that's if Emory Jones plays to his potential, whatever that may be. And that is if we get a running game going, which we haven't had in forever, and if our wide receivers start to play again, and also, if our defense gets out of its own way, gets its collective thumbs up out of its asses, and starts to actually play like a Florida defense again. Hitting, tackling for loss. An interception or two might be nice. Maybe forcing a fumble. But let's concentrate on tackling and maybe covering a receiver every once in a while. That would be nice. That would be great. Personally, I think in terms of hot seat, there should be a volcano underneath Lardass. He should be given a very, 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 very short leash. I mean minuscule. I mean the first time that Florida loses a game by more than 14 points and looks bad doing it, gone. See ya, bye. Hit the bricks, Lardass. And you know what? I'd put a blowtorch under Mullen too. He needs to tighten shit up. I mean, some of the stuff he pulls is amusing. I like a coach that acts like he's human every once in a while. I thought, I didn't think anything of some of the stuff he was doing in his pressers. I thought the Darth Vader thing on Halloween was kind of funny, actually. I'm in the minority on that one. But hey, Dan, you just got embarrassed 3 games in a row. LSU, Alabama, and especially Oklahoma. You just got your ass handed to you on national television. There was nothing else going on TV. Everyone was watching you on lose by 35 points to Oklahoma. You got the brakes beaten off of you. You got skull drug. You got mollywop. You got road graded. You got motor roaded. You got race card. You got whatever. Your team got its ass handed to them in beautifully bad style. Now, I've been a Florida Gator fan since the 70s. I've been a Florida Gator fan since 1975. I've seen the lows. I've seen the lows. I saw the winless season in 79. I lived through the Charlie Pell era. I saw us win our first SEC title in 84 and have it taken from us. I saw us win a second SEC title in 85 on the field, but we weren't eligible to have it. I saw us win another SEC title, and I think it was 1990. And we were on probation again. That was the Galen Hall era. I've been through the Pell Hall era, where mediocrity was the dish of the season. I've been through the lows. I've been through the highs. I've been through the 90s and the Spurrier era, where we won SEC title after SEC title after SEC title, and we won a natty, and we dominated the conference. So I've seen the lows. I've seen the highs. I lived through the Zook era. I lived through the lows of that. I lived through the Urban Meyer era, the 2 natties and the dominance throughout the 20-somethings. We were a dominant program. And I've lived through the lows again with the Moose Dump era and the Shark Humper era. And I was hoping that this era with Mullen would be a renaissance, a resurrection. It's not looking like that right now. We've had some success, yes, but it's really looking bad. And you know what? Georgia isn't sleeping. Georgia isn't rolling over and waiting for us to kill them. And, you know, at some point in time, teams like Tennessee and Auburn and even, God forbid, Ole Miss and Mississippi State are going to figure shit out, and they're going to pass us, is what I'm afraid of. It's hard to be a fan of a college football team. Ask any Georgia fan. They lived through ridiculous lows and they've been through fantastic highs. Ask any Tennessee team fan. They're in the middle of a funk that makes the funk that Florida is in right now look amusing by comparison. Ask any Alabama fan. There were eras between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban that were extremely hard to deal with. Auburn, same way. Vandy, permanent funk. Kentucky, no. You know, I can name any team. They've had fantastic highs. They've had horrible lows. Florida's no different. It's no different being a Florida Gator fan than being a fan of any other team. But it's really hard to watch a team in the state of Florida, which is arguably one of the biggest and best factories for college football players coming out of high school. You're in this state. You should be running this state. There should be a brick wall at the Florida, Georgia, and Florida, Alabama border that they can't cross. And we get to scoop up all the 5 stars we want, and we're not doing it. And 2020 was a desperately bad slide into mediocrity, and it hurt to watch. And you had your opportunities to fire Todd Grantham, and you didn't do it. And that's the damnable part of the whole capper to this season, is you had the chance, you had the excuse, you had the reasoning, you had the opportunity to fire a cancer on the Florida Gator team, and you didn't do it. And that, for me, is unforgivable. I haven't decided what I'm going to do about 2021 season. I'll probably still watch the games, but there's not going to be a hell of a lot of enthusiasm. Now, obviously, I'm recording this in early January, and the season doesn't start until the end of August or early September. So that's 9 months. So I don't know what my enthusiasm level will be in the fall of 2021. But right now, my enthusiasm for college football and the Florida Gators is pretty meh. You know. But that's to be understandable, I think, anyway. Now, all you geniuses out there who love to beat me up in the comment section, you know, leave comments like, wah, and stop crying, and all that other crap. You know what? Shut the fuck up. I'll do what I want. It's my channel. If I want to bitch and moan about a team that showed me so much and produced so little with it, I'll complain. You don't like it? Leave. I don't care. I'm not doing this for a living. I'm doing this to amuse myself and to vent. You know, so clown away. The season's over. I mean, only one team is going to be happy at the end of this season. And I don't care who it is at this point. The team I cared about lost their opportunity back in what? What was it? I forgot the exact day. Well, the LSU game, whatever day that was. Oh, December 12th. They lost their opportunity for any kind of real success December 12th. So, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm done ranting. I've ranted for almost a half hour now. That's my wrap up for the 2020 season. But I'll end it with this. Go Gators. Fuck you haters. Peace.